All right, welcome back to the Active Self-Protection Extra channel. I'm Kaery, and with me today is Mr. Charles O'Donnell out in Maryland, and he is here to answer some of our instructor insider questions. We'll do that right when we come back.
Filster is one of my trusted holster makers with great offerings like the Floodlight and trauma medical equipment to keep you and your loved ones safe. They're one of the few companies that I trust to make a quality product at a good price, and I thank them for sponsoring today's video.
All right, Mr. Charles, what was your first gun and what is your current favorite gun? These are hard.
Yeah. So it was a Springfield Armory XD 9mm.
That's all right. That's all right. That's okay. That was that case for a lot of us.
Yes. And my current favorite is I have a Staccato P that I am enjoying. I have to say though, like my heart goes out to my teaching Glock 19.
I thought you'd say that.
That's like my bread and butter. You know, my warm, blanket of love and trust. But yeah, the my Staccatos in the bag behind me. That's usually right now the first one that I want to shoot, and the first one that most of the people that I shoot with, they're like, "Hey, did you bring that? Can I try it?" So,
I love it. And you shoot that Glock well, by the way, very well. So that's fun to see. Okay, currently, what are you enjoying most about teaching, or what classes or topics are you enjoying most?
And this. It really is. What I enjoy about teaching is that moment where the student has the self-reflection and they come to, I kind of want them to come to a conclusion, but if I tell them that it doesn't sink in, and when they come to it themselves, oh, that's so sweet.
Yes.
And I've been teaching a holster, like a 2-hour holster draw class, and it was for, they took the Maryland concealed carry, and this is the first time that they're coming in, and I want people to train. I want people to train with what they have.
Yes.
Oftentimes, and I've struggled with this for 2.5 years in this class. I let them bring in whatever they have currently. And
nice.
it has been like, I have extra gray hairs because of it. I have had everything, belly bands, cross draw holsters, holsters that don't, like, there was someone who had a holster that every time they reholster it, ejected their magazine. Like,
oh my gosh,
it was horrible. So many of these things, and really, it's new people who don't know a lot.
They don't know,
but they learn. And again, like I know that if someone came to me and said, you've got a Serpa holster and a Glock, you don't know anything about gun stuff. Boo! I would close up and I would be like, what does that guy know? So I watch. I kind of, mainly it's I definitely have to watch for safety.
Sure.
I call people out on stuff like, yeah, hey, where was our finger during that? Does this work well to train with? If we need to employ something, we need to train with it. And so in that class, I've had many a times where people are, boy, I thought this belly band was a good idea, but I got to get myself a Kydex holster or something, or, I've only had a couple times, and this is another interesting thing as an instructor. I've had a guy come in with the small the back carry, and I'm like, okay, but it's not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
And then I watch the guy, and I'm like, you meet all my safety criteria here. You practice this. It's not my way, but my way isn't the way. It's a way. And sometimes as an instructor, I've been challenged I still wouldn't recommend my students to carry in that way.
Yeah.
But, as an instructor, I've seen people that can do it safely when they focus on it. So that part of that self-reflection themselves, and sometimes where my preconceived notions were completely challenged and I had to step back and go, well, I had an opinion, but now I have to readjust that opinion
Yeah.
because I've seen something. I'm not going to teach that, but
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
those are the things I really like about teaching.
I love that you help your students run the gear that they have, as long as it's safe. And I know you're saying that. Speaking of small back carry, this is about a year ago now, but one of my former students had recently undergone a surgery where they had to have part of their colon removed, and so they were had a colostomy
Yeah.
temporarily, and and he was pretty sore and tender in the front, so he moved it around to the small of his back, but not like on his flank. I mean, it was literally on his spine.
Yeah.
And his wife called and she said, Carrie, Johnny asked me to call you because he found out something the hard way that he wants you to be able to share with your other students. And he had fallen on the ice, and because of where his gun was, he, feet goes out from under him, he lands, and he did
Yeah.
severe damage to his spinal cord,
Yeah.
like unable to move his lower limbs. He had some bladder function issues and that sort of thing temporarily. But we're
Yeah.
talking
Oof.
a good 4 to 6 weeks for
Yeah.
recovery for him, complete recovery. But what else? Wasn't quite sure what else to do, but at least flank. If somebody's gonna, I always tell people that if you have to carry there, at
Yeah.
least not over your spinal cord. Please, for the
Yeah.
love of God, not over your spinal cord.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What's one helpful hint you can share with instructors just starting out?
Mm. Um, be honest with your students. Especially if it's like a lecture scenario and you don't know. That's the biggest thing as an instructor is don't be afraid to say I don't know, or and if you don't, like, I use active self-protection as a I don't know the answer to that, but guess what? There's a big resource
Yeah.
that probably has that answer. I don't know, but I may not be able to give you the answer, but I'm going to go find the answer to that. So the next student that comes and asks me that, I'm not caught off guard. So understanding as an instructor to have some humility there of
Mm.
don't be afraid to say I don't know, because when you try to BS your way through it, your students can sniff that out, and
Boy, can
you've
they?
you've destroyed your credibility. And if you do that consistently, you destroy the foundation of any credibility that you have. So I think one of the most important things as a new instructor, you can't know everything. I don't know
Right.
everything. We're
Right.
we're we're consummate students,
Yeah.
but don't lie to your students. If you don't know, find out, learn. Like, that's the bottom line. But yeah, be honest with them, even if that means you gotta swallow down a little humble pie from time to time. But that's good. That's
Yes.
that uncomfortable, point that I don't know. Listen, you haven't trashed your credibility, and you right there are actively growing as an instructor. So
Yeah.
it's small, and
That's
but I
key
think it's
though.
I think it's foundational.
That's good. That's good stuff. Good stuff. What is the best piece of firearm or protection related advice that you've ever received?
Mm. Um, it I struggle with good. I don't know if it's good or not. It
Okay.
so I had a concept of use of force law, and uh, how I would respond in situations. And I was working with an instructor. He has a military police background, um, and one of the things he said, we were in a force on force class, and we were talking about um, deploying a force, and he said early domination is de-escalation. And
Mm.
I don't I don't sprinkle that out necessarily to my students to say this
Sure.
is the way. What it was good for was it challenged my current thinking at the time, and it caused me
Sure.
to re-examine everything. And I saw, it woke me up. I was like, what? Um, and I saw the perspective. I saw the
Yes.
perspective of law enforcement, of someone in that realm, from foreign special forces and police, where he's done a lot, but it challenged me enough where it in itself isn't. I struggle to say good or bad because
I know what you're saying.
I think there's it's very situationally dependent. I don't tell
Yes.
new students early domination is de-escalation. That's a little aggressive for maybe some new students.
For brand
I think
newbies.
yeah, I think that someone who has built up a thorough
Yeah.
use of force concepts and knows that material and has thought about situations, you know, the way I interpret it now is, you know, you see lethal force, you can't wait. Early domination on the presentation of lethal force. If someone's got a knife and you need to meet lethal force with lethal force, early domination is de-escalation.
Mm-hmm.
But it just does not apply to every case. And
Yeah.
it rattled me so much where I was on my path in firearms training that even though it's that weird realm, it was such an inflection point that got me to be critical and think about where I'm coming from, where they're coming from, what aligns, and where do I go from here. Again, not necessarily a good piece of advice, but just
Yeah.
to rattled me awake,
Yes.
and shook me from my concepts. And again, I don't tell
I think
people that
that's
necessarily, but
sure. I
it
appreciate you
was
sharing that. I really do
yeah,
because I know what I know what they're getting at. And
yeah,
maybe it's the word domination that doesn't sit comfortably, but um, for Science Institute, they talk about the importance of, using enough force early will mean the likelihood of you having to use more force later on is reduced. And
yeah,
so it's important for us to recognize that and take control or maybe mentally take control or, take awareness or be ready to act. John and Vicky Farnham in their classes, they have several drills they do. They're just no gun in your hand or anything. And you're simulating walking through a crowd of people and somebody will come up to you to ask you for something. And some of them will be more assertive than others. But the people that are, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Or, no, I'm sorry, I can't help you. The people that are quicker with that, get out of the situation a lot more quickly than those that, well, no, I'm sorry, I can't, or no, not now, or whatever. But I mean, to have a response really quickly, I'm sorry, I can't help you,
yeah.
seems to work well. So, all right, if you could train, last question, if you could train with anyone living or dead, who
Mm.
would it be?
Oh, this is a little, it's a little controversial, in a sense. It would be James Yeager.
Okay.
Um, and this is he's a controversial figure in the past, and you know, the training curriculum can be controversial as well. What that particular person did is I've never met him, never get the chance to meet him. Um, but I was that guy sitting in the basement with a shotgun and a gun and not
Yeah.
training. And I remember watching his videos where it felt like he was calling me out
Mm,
on your responsibility to train is ever present. And I don't want to say I was belittled by him over YouTube, but it was like, oh man, yeah, I have this gun and I think I'm prepared, but this guy is telling me I'm not, and that the only way
yeah.
I can be prepared is to train. And that he is the person that I credit with me getting off the couch
Wow.
and going to firearms training and
Wow.
starting down this path.
Yeah.
And you know, while he can be a controversial figure regardless, I think
Everyone can.
that I think we need more people that can spark that um, that realization of boy, just owning a gun is not enough. It's a responsibility, and I need to be ready because if a fight comes to me, I need to be prepared for that. Um, and while I never trained with him in person, he has had an outsized impact upon me on just getting me motivated to do it. So that's the person that I would train with.
I love it. And you wouldn't be here now, most
Yeah.
likely, had
No,
you
no, not
not
at all.
watched him. And yeah, I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. Well, I sure appreciate your time today, Mr. Charles. Thanks for sharing your instructor insider answers with us. And it's just been a pleasure to have you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.